Disney just left 10 million fans in complete shock, and nobody saw it coming. Descendants, Wicked Wonderland, the fifth movie in this billion-view franchise, ended with a twist so quiet that most viewers almost missed it. And yet it might be the biggest clue Disney has ever dropped for what happens next. No trailer. No official confirmation. No press release. Just one glowing object, one knowing cat, and a silence from Disney that is louder than any announcement could ever be. And today, we are breaking down exactly what that silence means piece by piece, because once you see what the cast has actually been saying behind the scenes, you will realize Descendants 6 is not just likely. It might already be happening. Let's set the stage first, because everything that comes next only makes sense once you understand where Wicked Wonderland actually left things. Red and Chloe spent the entire fifth movie trying to fix the mistake they made in the previous film. When their time-traveling adventure accidentally rewrote history, they thought erasing the past would finally give them the happy ending they deserved. Instead, they created something worse. A brand new villain rose out of nowhere. A man named Maddox Hatter, once Red's closest friend, now the most feared name in all of Oregon. And the moment his name entered the story, everything the girls thought they understood about consequences, family, and friendship began to unravel in front of them. What makes this movie different from anything Disney has done before in this franchise is how personal the damage became. This was not simply villain versus hero. Maddox had a son, a boy named Max, who wanted nothing to do with his father's path. And his story mirrored Red and Chloe's own past so closely that it forced both girls to confront who they used to be. Meanwhile, Chessie the cat, voiced with just enough menace to feel genuinely unsettling, spent the entire film whispering doubt into their friendship, pulling at every insecurity until Red's need to protect herself nearly tore the group apart completely. And then there is the detail almost nobody is talking about enough. When the Queen of Hearts, a woman who has spent years being rewritten as kind and gentle, suddenly snapped and said the words "off with his head," it did not feel like a joke. It felt like a warning. Like no matter how much the past gets rewritten, some things refuse to stay buried. By the end of the movie, the surface story wrapped up the way Disney musicals usually do. The pocket watch that caused all the chaos gets destroyed. Red and Chloe patch things up. A new romance blossoms between Red and Magical, complete with the kind of slow-motion hand-holding moment that Disney fans have already turned into thousands of edits online. It looks, for just a few minutes, like everything is finally settled. And then Disney does what Disney always does. Pink, Red's younger sister, finds something small and glowing, tucked away where nobody expected it, and places it inside a treasure box that has clearly meant something important to this family for a long time. Chessie appears one final time, and instead of the warm ending the audience was promised, the cat simply says she hates happy endings. No explanation. No reveal. Just a smirk, and a door left wide open. That single moment is the reason this entire fanbase has spent the last several weeks in theory mode. And it is also the exact reason we need to talk about what the cast themselves have been quietly confirming in interview after interview. Because the hints they have dropped go far beyond what most breakdown videos have actually covered. Here is where things get interesting, because this is not speculation pulled from nowhere. Kylie Cantrall, who plays Red, revealed in a recent interview that Disney actually brought her into a private meeting specifically to explain who Red's real father is. Her exact words were that it completely blew her mind, and that although she promised never to reveal the answer, she hinted it ties into the franchise in a way nobody is expecting. Think about that for a second. Disney does not fly an actress in for a secret meeting about a plot detail, unless that detail matters for something coming next. This is not a rumor started by fans scrolling through frame-by-frame footage. This is the actress playing the lead character telling us, on the record, that a piece of the puzzle exists that we have not been shown yet. And she is not the only one. When the cast sat down for a group interview after the movie's release, they were asked directly what they wanted to see in a sixth movie, and their answers lined up in a way that felt less like wishful thinking, and more like they already knew where the story was heading. Leah Segura, who plays Pink, said flatly that she wants to see her character turn evil, and admitted she already knows fans are going to love it. That is not a small thing to say about your own character right after wrapping a movie. Kiara Romero, who plays Hazel Hook, said she would love the story to head to Neverland so her character could finally meet her father, Captain Hook, and even joked with co-star Alexandro Bird about turning the whole thing into a search for missing Disney dads. Brandy and Rita Ora, who play Cinderella and the Queen of Hearts, both said they want more scenes together and more music in whatever comes next. When this many cast members independently point toward the same unfinished threads, fathers who have never appeared on screen, an evil turn nobody has confirmed, a trip to a world the franchise has never fully explored, that is not coincidence. That is a cast who already knows more than they are allowed to say. Now let's talk about the detail that changes everything, because most breakdowns completely skip over it. Descendants. Wicked Wonderland was never actually meant to be the end. Long before the movie premiered, Kylie Cantrall's own father confirmed on social media, back in December of last year, that a sixth movie was already in development. Read that again. Before most fans even had a release date for movie 5, insiders close to the production were already confirming that Disney had plans for a sixth chapter. That means everything we saw in Wicked Wonderland, every loose thread, every unanswered question, every strange choice that felt unfinished, was very likely intentional. Disney was not wrapping up a story. Disney was setting up the next one, and they did it so carefully that most casual viewers never even noticed. So let's break down exactly what a sixth movie could actually look like, using nothing but what the cast and the story itself have already given us. The most talked about theory right now centers entirely on Pink. She spent the entire fifth movie in the background, sweet, a little naive, mostly comic relief, while her sister and Chloe carried the emotional weight of the story. But that final scene changes her role completely. She is the one who finds the glowing object. She is the one who places it inside a treasure box tied to her family's history. And she is the character whose own actress has openly said she wants to see turn evil. When you put those three things together, it stops looking like a coincidence and starts looking like a plan. If Pink becomes the emotional center of the next movie, that would be a massive shift for this franchise, because for the first time, the story would not revolve around Red and Chloe's friendship at all. It would revolve around a girl finding out that the peaceful life she thought she had was built on a secret nobody told her about. And that shift lines up with something else worth paying close attention to. The Queen of Hearts moment. That single line, "off with his head," delivered by a woman the franchise has spent years humanizing and softening, was not thrown in by accident. Musicals like this do not include a moment like that unless it means something. If the Queen's old instincts are still buried inside her, waiting for the right trigger, a sixth movie built around Pink discovering the truth about her mother's past could be the exact story Disney is setting up. Imagine Pink slowly realizing that the version of her mother she grew up trusting is not the whole truth, and that the timeline her sister rewrote may have only delayed something that was always going to resurface. That is not just a plot twist. That is the kind of emotional gut punch this franchise has built its entire identity around. Then there is the Neverland theory, and this one comes directly from the cast, not from fan speculation. Kiara Romero, who plays Hazel Hook, said clearly in interviews that she wants her character's story to head toward Neverland so she can finally meet her father, Captain Hook, someone the franchise has referenced constantly but never actually shown. She even named who she would want to play him. Now think about what that would mean for the wider story. If Neverland becomes part of movie 6, that does not just open up one new world. It opens up an entirely new set of parents who have never appeared on screen, Captain Hook included, and possibly Red's own father, the one Kylie Cantrall was sworn to secrecy about. A trip to Neverland would not be a side quest. It could be the very thing that finally answers who Red's father actually is, tying two of the franchise's biggest mysteries into a single storyline. And here is where the theories start colliding into something much bigger. Brandy and Rita Ora, the actresses behind Cinderella and the Queen of Hearts, both said they want their characters more involved in the kids' storylines going forward. If the mothers start stepping further into the plot, and the fathers finally start appearing for the first time in franchise history, that is not a small movie. That is a full-blown family reckoning, generations colliding at once, old secrets surfacing at the worst possible time, and every relationship the fans have grown attached to being tested simultaneously. It would be the most emotionally loaded chapter this franchise has ever attempted. And based on what the cast has already confirmed publicly, it does not feel far-fetched at all. It feels like exactly where this story has been quietly heading since the moment Chessie first smiled at the camera and told us she hates happy endings. But not everything about this next chapter feels warm and hopeful, and it would be dishonest to pretend otherwise. Because alongside all this excitement, there is a quieter story developing behind the scenes, one that has nothing to do with fictional villains and everything to do with real life. Fans who have been paying close attention to recent interviews with Kylie Cantrall and Malia Baker, the actresses behind Red and Chloe, have noticed something. A tension. A distance that was not there before, one that seems to trace back to their personal lives outside the franchise entirely. It is subtle, but it is visible, and it matters, because Red and Chloe are the emotional backbone this entire series has been built on since day one. If that real-life tension continues, it would not be surprising if a sixth movie gave these two characters noticeably less screen time together, shifting the emotional weight onto newer characters like Pink and Hazel instead. In a